Once you feel confident that you can play bass lines to a number of songs, the next logical step is to take those same songs and learn power chords. You might be thinking, what is a power chord? Well, a power chord, I believe, is called a power chord because it sounds powerful despite only having 2 notes in it. And it's very commonly used in rock music and punk music and that sort of thing. And as you can see here, I'm only using 2 notes on the E string and the A string. Okay, and if I was to crank up my distortion, okay, kind of a standard rock progression there if you like, but it sounds quite powerful even though there's only 2 notes in it. So I'm going to use the same example I always use. I'm going to use Brown Eyed Girl because it's just easy if you use the same example. Just bear in mind that this song is actually played with full open chords. There are no power chords in it, but there's nothing to stop us using power chords. So if you've already looked at the video that teaches you how to play the bass line and you've had a look at the chord and lyric sheet for that as well, and you know it and you're familiar, then this video is going to make a lot of sense to you. So the first thing we need to know is, how do we form a power chord on the guitar? Well, it's quite simple really. We take our first finger and we're going to do a G power chord, sometimes referred to as G5. And we're going to take the first finger and put it on the 3rd fret of the low E string. Now you'll probably realise that that's where the bass note starts when you're learning Brown Eyed Girl. That's exactly where that finger goes, it's the same place. But then we're going to add a second finger. We're going to add an additional finger. Now this is kind of depends on what you find comfortable. Now, generally speaking, if you use the pinky finger, okay, then that's going to be okay for most people to stretch to, but it might be a little more difficult to press down, okay? But you can use the 3rd finger, but that's going to be a bit more of a stretch, but it will set you up a little bit better for later on. I would recommend generally going with the pinky, but if you've already started doing this kind of stuff, then you're already using the 3rd, that's fine as well. So let's use the pinky in this example. We're going to put the pinky on the 5th fret of the A string at the same time as the 3rd fret of the low E string. Now just take note of my hand position there, get a good look at it, and you'll see that this finger is going straight down and it's actually muting all of the strings underneath. And then the pinky is also partially muting all of the strings underneath. What I mean by muting is if I play all of the strings, you can see I'm strumming through every single string, but only the 2 that I want are sounding. So I'm stopping the sound from the remaining 4 strings with the arrangement of these 2 fingers here. And that is what a power chord is going to sound like, a G power chord. And what you want to do once you've got that position, and remember you want to keep the thumb behind the neck between the 1st and 2nd fingers where it always is, you're going to test each note individually, check that you've got the fret in the finger in the optimal position on the fret, and you're going to check the G, the note G that is, which is the 3rd fret of the low E, and then you're going to check the note D, which is the 5th fret of the A string. You should get a nice clean sound, and then you should be able to hit them both together to get that typical power chord sound. Now if we are playing Brown Eyed Girl, the next one is a C chord. Now you know where your first finger is going to go because you've already learned the bass line. So you move that first finger up to the 8th fret, and then the pinky just stays the same distance away. You can think of the pinky as being 1 string higher and 2 frets higher as well. And remember, when I say 1 string higher, I'm talking in terms of pitch, in terms of the sound of the note, not in terms of physicality towards the ceiling. Okay? So then the next chord is going to be a D power chord. And as we know, the first finger moves to the 10th fret of the low E string, and therefore the pinky is going to be on the 12th. So wherever your first finger is, your pinky is only ever going to be 2 frets above. So G, C, G, D. And that is how he would take something like Brown Eyed Girl and turn it into power chords. And I absolutely recommend that you do this for any of the other songs that you've learned, because the vast majority of the time, those bass lines will be able to be turned into power chords, and it will just sound better. It'll sound fuller, and you'll feel like you're doing a better job, I suppose. So yeah, good luck with that, and I hope you conquer your power chords soon.